starting, we gotta bring the holy intentions. We're taking over. We got to be when we step in the arena, it's a banger. Silent with force of failure, we make success louder. Evergreen. Okay, this one where you just cite me for sure. So, thank you so much. I'll take it though. I'll take it. Bring it. I'll take all the signs. Thank you, my friend from way back. Thank you. Up and forward, we on fire. Nothing stop us. They understand us. We on fire. I've got Jesus in my life. All right, we are waiting for our guest for today. I think I need to send a message because it's 2 o'clock already. Oh, okay. She said she's. Let's see. Let me send her a message. So she said she was ready. Oh, okay. She's there. People of God in the building. Let me turn off.
Hello. Hi, how are you? I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Nice to see you, Odun.
Same here. Good to see you, Pimo. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. And how are you too?
Very well, thank you. When are you going to send me one of these glasses now?
When you start wearing glasses. People think they are recommended, but they are actually recommended.
Oh, wow. They are always so beautiful. And then you have them in different colors. Nice.
I try. Thank you.
Hi, what do you want us to be saying?
Nice to be here.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, thank you all for joining. Good afternoon. My name is Odun Akerele, and this is Real Talk. For the benefit of those joining the show for the first time, Real Talk is a show for women by women. All right. It's a Christian woman show. We talk about issues, but in as much as we are Christians, we talk about all issues that affect women. And the truth of the matter is, sorry, excuse me. The truth of the matter is a lot of things is going on in our world right now. Like I actually sat down here like 30 minutes ago and I kept going through social media and reading everything that is going on, especially to a woman. And if you know me very well, you know I'm passionate about women. And over time, I've made my own mistakes. And I bless God for this show because the people I've brought have really opened my eyes to a lot of things. You know, at times we think we know it all, but when you come across someone that puts things in perspective for you, you know you don't know things. And I'm grateful for this show because it has really helped me with the people that have been on the show. And that being said, I'm still going to try and talk about what happened today. But before we do that, let's address why we are here now, right now. All right? And today we'll be talking about marriage and ministry. And before we talk about the topics, those that knows the show know Pimo. Pimo is a regular on Real Talk. Okay, Pimo has been here multiple times. She's like the second host. Don't mind me, Pimo.
I should get an award. I should get an award for that.
Ma'am, thank you so much. Always.
Oh, it's my honor.
Thank you.
It's my honor. I know.
No,
I know you don't. And I truly celebrate what you're doing, Odun. I celebrate what you're doing. I celebrate your consistency, because sometimes people start things and then along the line, but you've been consistent, and well done. Well done to you. Well done. You're doing a great job.
So much, man. That means a lot. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go right into it. We're talking about marriage and ministry. Right. Now, when I came up, the first time I had this idea, honestly, if I tell you the truth, the story I saw a story about women in ministry. That was why I started Real Talk. I'm telling you this.
Wow. Right.
Yes. Now, for those that don't know, my ex-husband was a pastor. And that, because then I joined some groups that were pastors' wives,
right.
And there were a lot of stories that I saw on the personal experiences of women that are married to pastors or that are one way involved in one ministry or the other in church. And see, I was thinking about it then while I was still married, that this is something that we need to talk about. This is something we need to let people know, that
right.
women in ministry face their own challenges. They have their own thing that they each and every day. But most of the time, we don't see it and we don't talk about it. We just assume that, Pastor Mrs., or is this or is that. Anyway, so this is why I started Real Talk. And I've been thinking about this for a while to bring, in fact, I initially wanted to bring a lot of Pastor Mrs. But then because of the time, 1 hour will not be enough to make God say yes, exactly. That was why I just said, okay, let me do one. Maybe some other time another Pastor Mrs. will come on the show. So now let me tell you the story. The story was this girl came on the show, came on that platform, and was saying she's been married for 10 years. And out of the blues, the husband came and said he wants to go into full-time ministry. And that was not part of their deal when they got married. That never came up when they were cutting. So it's not as if they talked about it or she even had an inkling that something like that was going to happen down the road. And that now 10 years down the line, her husband is telling her he wants to go into full-time ministry. And so that's the first one. So someone replied on that story to say same thing happened to her, but that what she did is she didn't go with her husband. They are now separated.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because she said part of their deal, she wasn't ready for it. She didn't want to be a pastor Mrs. She doesn't want, And then when they all moved, she said maybe she went to one rural village in Oyo State or something. She remained in Lagos, and they were somehow separated. So now I want us to talk about before the call itself. And I'll appreciate if you can give personal experiences. Now, during coaching, is there any way for you to know that this person is going to go into full-time ministry? I'm talking about before the...
Right. Wow. The second story, the person that didn't follow the husband, that story really, really got to me because, well, I'm just like, because I've had both experiences in my life. Now, not because that I didn't marry my husband as a pastor. So background story, mine is a bit different. I've always known that he was going to go into ministry. It wasn't a case of that I did not know. In fact, when I met him, he was a pastor. He was the campus fellowship pastor. So it wasn't a case of that I met him when he wasn't a pastor. So I could say all my life, knowing him, I've known him as a minister, as a pastor, And so for me, what I had to do was learn how to be his wife and also learn how to know him as he is. His name is Ayodele. Know him as Ayodele. Know him as Pastor Dele. So because, yes, you need to know him as Pastor Dele. That was how I knew him. That was how I met him. So I now had to start learning how to know him, how to understand him, how to relate with him as Ayodele, because there's an Ayodele before the Pastor Dele. And the Pastor Dele isn't so much about the person, is an office that he occupies. It's like being a doctor, it's like being an engineer, it's like being an architect, it's like being a lawyer, it's like being a makeup artist, so it's an office. But the real person that occupies that office is the person that I'm married to. I'm not married to the office, I'm married to the man. And with every office that you occupy, your personality, who you are, you begin to express it in that office. So when people say, oh, someone is a pastor and the person is behaving somehow, I'm like, that's how that person has been. It's not about the office, just created the platform for you to really know who this person is. And so, you know, with that story for me, that's the first phase. I always knew he was a pastor. I knew we were going into ministry when we got married, in terms of that we were going to move to Abuja. But then while we were in ministry, what I did not know, and I'm just going to use that to answer that question, is the fact that he was going to be an itinerant pastor. I just assumed that, oh, we're going to pastor a church in Abuja and everybody's going to be so awesome, fine, and we're just going to pastor that church. I never for my life thought that we're going to have to start moving from church, planting churches. So that was the part that I would tell you, and I'm saying this, a lot of people who know me know this story about me. I told him then in Abuja when he said, oh, the Lord said that we're going to Lagos. I said, I'm not going. I said, I'm not going to Lagos. It wasn't part of the deal when we got married. Because when we got married, what you told me was Abuja, and I followed you to Abuja. I've left my family in Lagos and followed you to Abuja. And 6 years down the line, when we are finally getting to that point where, you know, we're settling down. Maybe today is not the day for that story, because we rather had a rough beginning, you know, starting from nothing. So we finally get to that point where the church is settled. We're not having 2 services, you know, that kind of thing. You're in Abuja, life is now looking like what you've always wanted. And then someone says, we're going to Lagos to go and start afresh. Guy, you're going on your own. I'm not going. You get. But the amazing thing here is that, and this is what I always say to pastors' wives, the pastor's wife title is also an office. It's not who you are. You're a lot more than that. And so in as much as I'm married to a pastor, I have a life, I have a relationship with God. I know who I am, and that I occupy that office does not mean that is all there is to me. There's a lot more to me than that office. And so I said to him, you're going to Lagos, Oga, I will send blessings with you. I don't mind to be a weekend wife. You can be coming every weekend to Abuja, but I'm going to stay in Abuja. But the truth is that while I was doing all of that and arguing all of that and fighting all of that, now because I had a personal relationship with God, God himself spoke to me and said, Madam, you don't always have to have the details. That, okay, I told you when you're going to get married, this man is going to go to Lagos. Did I even say that I was going to be in UK today? No. So life will happen, changes will happen. We keep adapting as the plans unfold. And God himself actually had to communicate that with me. My husband didn't force. My husband didn't say, if you're not going with me, this is the end of the marriage. No, he just said, I trust God to convince you. And honestly, God himself did. And I just repented and I said, Lord, I'm sorry. And here we are today. We've moved close to four times. We've had to move close to 4 times. And God knows where we're going from here. So honestly, I think for that story, Odun, I would say that there's a lot of fundamental foundational problem with that second story. You know, I get that sometimes you start out and the person didn't know that he was going to go into full-time ministry. It's very possible. My pastor was like that. Pastor Tunde Bakari was a lawyer. He had no plan to be a pastor. Few years into the marriage, the Lord said, you're going into ministry. But today, almost 40 years after in marriage, they're having a ball. So honestly, it's about communicating it well with your wife and understanding that she's a partner with you on this journey and getting her buy-in. She has to agree with you. You can't say, God has called me. If you like, follow me, don't follow me. No, you need to prayerfully bring her on board and trust God to convince her if indeed you have heard from God.
I agree. I think in her own, because she actually explained that he kept insisting that if he doesn't follow me, then we are done. There were a lot of threats and everything, and she was like, "Oh yes, I'm not following, so let's be done." You know. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for that. And now let's talk about the after. Like the first story I told you, this was even after like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the call, like I call it, the call is on, and you said you prayed and God told you to go.
Yeah.
But so is there, let's see, I'm just thinking now that even after a spouse got that vision or got the call, the other person never got that call. How do they manage that? He never got that vision or nothing happened to the other person. How do we manage that kind of a scenario?
So the truth here is that both parties have to be receptive to what God is saying. So it's very dicey if the man truly was called of God, as in now, because these things are subjective. I'm not there when the man called the man, as when God called the man. The woman wasn't there. It wasn't like they both saw an open vision. So I'm going to have to take the man's word for what he has said, trusting that indeed he heard God. And indeed, and I think another thing there is that if there has been a pattern of the man hearing God and the wife has been comfortable in that. So this thing is about pattern. So I've heard God on where we should live, and you followed, and you've seen that truly God was with you. I've heard God with the business we should do. I've heard God on the names we should call our children. So you've seen a pattern with him that indeed this is a man of God. You don't doubt that indeed he's a man of God. You know, so it's not that he's a pastor or your, but you know that he's a man of God. He loves God. He has a relationship with God. He's a child of God. You get what I'm saying? So if he has had that pattern where he has provided leadership as a man, when he now comes and says, I believe God is calling me into full-time ministry, I think even if the woman doesn't hear, because the truth is, even though I pray, what God was saying to me was more of a rebuke, not so much of, okay, so go. It was more like, I've spoken to your husband, and you are, you know, you are waiting for me to come and convince you. You understand? And honestly, that move to Lagos was majorly for me. At the end of the day, it blessed me more, that move. So sometimes we might not get the full picture, but when we trust God and we trust this man based on existing pattern over time, then we can safely say, I don't totally understand this move, but I'm going to trust God and I'm going to trust you. You get it? So I think it's all about, except if there hasn't been a pattern and the man shows up and like you said, he's threatening and he's showing this, I'm the man of the house. My word is final. What I say is final. Don't you know I'm a called man? When those things start coming, then there's an issue. Then there's a lot of fundamental problems, you know that. But when there's a pattern, when you understand this person, you've worked with this person, 10 years is long enough to know if someone is saying something truly or not.
Thank you so much. So you said something when you were talking about. I had that question when you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm sure it will come back. So let's just move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about management now. Time management, especially when it comes to ministry, it can affect marriage.
Yes.
Like in your own case, you've been moving from one place to another. At times, you might even have structured your plan for the year. That this is what I want to do for this year. This is what I want to achieve. Okay, let me just acknowledge everybody. Hi, hello, thank you for joining. Dara baby, hello, hi to you also. Thank you. Please, we want to hear from you also. Just give us your comments on what we're talking about. We are talking about women, ministers, and ministry. Marriage and ministry. Oh, hi, Funke. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody. Arrow, you've mapped out your plan for the year. This is what I want to do in 2023. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to attain. And then middle of the year, you are moved. You're told to move, pack your bags, and let's go. Now, that timing to you might be wrong. Right? So let's talk about how to balance your between ministry and marriage as a woman.
So first of all,
expectations and your schedule and all that. This is your marriage and your ministry.
Okay. So first of all, let me say that I don't think God is an irresponsible father. And I don't think he would just wake up one morning and say, oh yeah, you're going to this place tomorrow. I want to believe that there would have been some conversations, you know, along the line before that. For every move we made, It wasn't an overnight decision. You know, it was always something that we had talked about, possibly for a year. Coming to the UK, we had talked about it for over 2 years. So it was a thing of, you know, so there's a conversation going on, there's a praying going on, there is, that's going on with respect to move and having to, so I won't really say it was so much of altering my plans, but I will talk about the day-to-day time management and combining it with ministry demands and the marriage, especially maybe from the point of view of the man who sometimes happen to have a lot more to do. Someone like my husband, who is an itinerant minister, he just came back from Lagos. He's been away for like 5 days. The other time he was away for almost a month. The other time he was away for over 2 weeks. So when you have that and then combining with yourself and then with the things you have to do, managing your time and managing the ministry, I think communication plays a huge role in all of this. Communication, being able to communicate your needs, communicate your plans, what you want to do. Because I feel like in as much, and I think this is the second time I'm saying this even this evening, in as much as you are married and you are a helper, just like every other wife. So honestly, let's not over-exaggerate this pastor's wife's role. Like, it's one special role like that. She's a wife like every other wife that is married to someone that is busy. There are so many other people in other professions that are not pastoring, and they are equally as busy. So it's about providing that support and providing that level of effective communication between both of you, whereby you're able to manage your time, manage your plan. And as a woman also, you have a life of your own. So your life isn't just all about the man or the ministry. Even if you're a pastor's wife, I believe as a pastor's wife, you have an assignment of God over your own life too. So what is God saying to you about your own life? And then how are you marrying both together such that you're able to still, nothing lacking, there are no gaps, and you're able to still, bring out the best in it. There will be challenges, and there will be times when things will be rough. But I'll also say, in addition, embrace help. Receive as much help that you can, because that is very crucial also. You need help, you need support. Nobody is macho. There's no award for the most clinical wife. How will I put it? There's no award for the wife that, that. So I think it's about receiving help when you can, getting all the support that you can, understanding that you are human just like every other person. I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, yes, you did. Yeah, but I'm going to bring it from it. Thank you all for those joining now. Thank you so much. God bless you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, I want to think from what you said when we were about this time management thing. A career woman, right? Someone that has a career and now have the demand of ministry, has the demand of the home front of the family. Because currently I have someone that's been sending me right now, telling me that she doesn't tired. She's tired, she's a full-time, like, she works 8 to 5, yeah, because she's in the year. She works 8 to 5, and she has 3 kids, and then I also, and now she keeps saying, I am tired. What kind of advice would you give this person when it comes to managing these 3 things? Because this is basically 3. There's career, there's family, there's ministry.
Yeah. The thing is that, just like I said, I think we also need to really sit down and ask ourselves, what is the role of a pastor's wife? What exactly is the role of the pastor's wife? There's this misconception that because you're a pastor's wife, automatically you should head the women's ministry in the church. No, that's not true.
That was I forgot.
So there's that. No. Or that you have to be the head of administration. If you don't have the skills, you can't be. You shouldn't be. There's no rule to that. or that you must be in charge of the children's ministry because what? You are the pastor's wife. No. I think your number one role as a pastor's wife, and I really cannot forget this because Pastor Mildred said it one of the meetings I invited her for, and it has stuck in my head ever since, that your number one duty as a pastor's wife is to wife your husband, is to be the pastor's wife. Be the wife of the pastor. It's not so much about every other thing, ministry. You're about church. Everybody, mama. Everyone is just carrying your back, carrying that one. As good as those things are, I'm not against it. But I'm saying there's a lot more to you than that. So if you have someone who is married to a pastor who doesn't have any ministerial calling, and it is possible that you are a pastor's wife and you don't have any there's no rule that says because you're a pastor's wife, you must have a ministerial calling. Your calling might be in your career or in your business, which is also a calling. It doesn't have to be ministry inclined. We have pulpits in the marketplace. We have women doing stuff who are vibrant, firebrand women. They don't have to be having women's ministry and praying, leading women prayer ministries and all of that. If you are called to that, awesome. God has given you that grace for it. And for some people, it doesn't happen immediately. For some people, you don't start out coming into that ministry immediately. You support your husband, which is your greatest assignment. You support your husband. You are there for him. You ensure that he has a conducive atmosphere or environment to carry out God's assignment in his life. You are there to listen to him. You are there to pray with him. That is your foremost assignment. If along the line, the Lord now begins to open your eyes that, the women in this ministry, you have an assignment for them, God will communicate that with you. Or perhaps you've had that even before you married your husband. The ministry is just a platform for you to give expression to that. So I think understanding that role will help us to know that if the pastor's wife, if her assignment is within the career industry, then please let's allow her to exercise that expression in that area. And if for sometimes she misses prayer meetings or she misses some meetings in church, let's not crucify her because she's also representing God in that place where she is. I can imagine a pastor's wife who is the branch manager in a bank, and they have CEO meetings or whatever meeting Saturday morning. And then here you are, you say that you have a prayer meeting Saturday morning. Do you understand? Why do we feel that if she goes for that board meeting, she has erred compared to her attending that prayer meeting? No, now, because right there, she's going there to represent the kingdom. So honestly, it's an understanding, it's a mentality thing. So we need to begin to change our mindset about that. I'm currently in that position. I am running a project. I'm working in project management. My children are there, they are grown, and I have my own ministry, which is not even the church, and the church is there. So I am even combining so many things. How do I manage to do that? Is understanding the assignment. So the ministries I run is not because I'm a pastor's wife. The ministries I run is because it's a calling. And for every calling, God will grant you grace. He will grant you grace and he will grant you support.
Thank you so much. So a question came in. Okay, Funke, thank you. My regards to your husband. He recognized me. Tell him I said you. Okay, is there anything like automatic transfer of anointing and mandates? And she now sent a follow-up. She said, why I asked once, even is sexually transmitted. Some women are some pastor misses because their husband is a pastor. And the question is, did you personally?
Your season is like the what you're saying is coming back after. Can you I didn't hear the question. I can't hear you, Odun. Okay. I can't even hear you at all.
There is a question that the first thing she said was automatic transfer of anointing and man. Was asking if there's
okay, I think I can see here. She said if calling is sexually transmitted, some women automatically.
Can anybody hear me?
Okay, it's season.
Because, oh, they're saying the audio is bad. Hello, can you hear me? We don't know what's happening. They're saying the audio is bad. If you can hear me, please put up some. Okay,
is it from my end?
I'm gonna go out and come in again because I don't know what's happening. We don't even know where. We don't know where. So I don't know what's going on. It's the same network everybody's using. It's RT, the 5G. Is it the 5G or the 4G? Yeah. Okay, I need to switch network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had to switch. The network was
That's
obviously
fine.
I didn't know we lost network, but all right. Were you the one talking before then? Okay, I was asking you the question.
Can you go over the question again? Was it a question or it was just a contribution?
She said initially she asked if there was a transfer of calling, a transfer of mandate, and that some people just automatically assume the position of Pastor Mrs. because their husbands are pastor. And she was now asking if you were called personally out of your husband's calling. That was the question.
Oh yes. Oh yes, I totally understand what she's saying and I agree. And that has been a traditional error, over the years, that it would take it will take a lot of reorientation and some mind shift to be able to come into that space where people will now understand that you don't automatically have to be called a pastor, Mrs. You know, even in my growing up, my spiritual father, my spiritual mother, till today, we still call her Mrs. B. Does that mean she's not grace? Does that mean she's not anointed? Does that mean she cannot preach? Yes, she can. Yes, she is anointed. But she is anointed in her own authority and right. If she has been called into the office of a pastor, she will be ordained. You understand? She will be ordained as a pastor, and then you can call her Pastor Mrs. But because, you know, we've bastardized that thing, and that's why I said it's a traditional error. You know how we are Africans. Once the husband is a pastor, by the next Sunday, you're already calling the wife, Pastor Mrs. Ma, Pastor Mrs. Ma. Why are we labeling them and putting them? Yes. We now begin to...
Doctor.
Yes.
Like for medical, we don't transfer you to their wives and start calling
the
wife.
No, you don't. You don't transfer it. And I think sometimes it's something that we need to stop in the church. Stop putting these women under pressure. Stop putting them in positions that you go. We don't encourage that, you know, in my church. If someone is not a pastor, call her by her sister so, Mrs. so. You don't have to automatically make her a pastor, Mrs. simply because her husband is a pastor. And I think that's why you now give those women what's that word? There's now some level of expectation on them. And so it is in a bid to meet up to that expectation, they now begin to try to fit into positions that God has not called them to come and fit into. So that's why there's so much error. And some of them will carry their personal idea and emotions into that office, and it just seems like that office can be bastardized. It's really sad, but I hope that we would unlearn the things that we've come to learn.
I think it's a human error. I think it's usually like the people, the church, that just automatically start calling her Pastor Mrs. So I'll chalk that up to be human, and it's always this urge of putting someone on a pedestal. And now what we forget at times is putting them on that pedestal is kind of a pressure on them. It's another pressure.
Yes,
so
it is.
Thank you so much for that. So I want to talk about this same group I mentioned when we started. There was another story I saw. I call this the other room issue. Now, she was actually...
The other room, you mean the other room?
The other room, the other room.
Other room.
So she was actually lamenting. She said they were, of course, the husband came in, they were about to get into the act. And they called on the phone for her husband. And the person was a member. She told the husband to ignore the call. Ignore the call. The first time the husband ignored, the second time, the third time the husband could not ignore. The husband picked the call. I thought, I need you to start coming. They are rushing the child to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And just like they could not complete the act. They could not finish But this is not the first time. It's not the second time. She did not bargain for this. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm asking us issues because at times as Christians, we tend to hide our head under the cloud that some things are not happening when they are actually happening. Now, if you are talking to this person, how would you advise her?
Okay, so if it was a one-time occurrence, I honestly wouldn't make a big deal out of it. You know, so if it's a consistent occurrence, why is it that when you're about to get into the act is when calls are coming in and they happen to be emergency calls? As in, I will question that in the sense that I don't think it, I don't think it's something that should happen frequently. It might happen, you know, once in a while, or one-off thing, you know, whereby you're about to get intimate with your wife and a call comes in and it is an emergency call. But the truth also is that I have one rule. My husband has a rule. No matter what it is, he does not bring his phones into the room. he's a late night person. So sometimes he's up till 3, he's up till 4. But once he's done, he leaves his phone in the office, in the study room, and he does not bring it into the room. And he switches it off. I also switch off my phone at night. And I usually tell people, someone says, what is an emergency? I say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healer. I'm not a savior. I can do my bit, but I'm sorry. I cannot be your only solution or your only answer. And those are the things that we said, traditional mindset, that a number of people have given pastors certain roles and duties, and there are some expectations, like, emergency, and I'm like, yeah, it's an emergency, but honestly, you're not the only one. And it doesn't mean that if you are not there, the person, there won't be other solution. I don't know if it might sound very extreme, but I think it's helped me, it's helped my husband. You switch off the phone, because you also have to understand your person. If you are a very caring person, if you're a very, loving person, you're always looking out for people, there's a tendency that you will get more calls. There's a tendency that and sometimes people don't really understand the place of privacy. Some people don't really, either they do and they ignore it and they just feel, Pastor Wani, you get. So, and I'm telling you, so some people don't respect boundaries, and they don't realize that, no, you don't start calling this person at 1 a.m. You don't start calling this person at 12, except you know that, okay, maybe the person told you, call me at this time, because that's the best time the person wants to receive the call. So for me, I will tell her, if it's a regular thing, then we need to sit down and talk about it, because your duty in the other room, as you said, is equally as important. But if it's at every point in time we're about to have that, you are getting emergency calls, Haba, Oga, is it every time that is emergency? So we'll have to find a way to, draw the line. Either we decide on other timing that is more convenient for us, but I don't even think that kind of thing is a big issue that cannot be addressed or dealt with. I don't think it's big enough to dent the marriage or to create communication.
For this person, the point she was trying to make was the divided attention.
Okay.
She was experiencing between ministry and my husband.
Okay.
I think that was what she was struggling with. Now, I want to believe, okay, let me just ask you, do you think that at times you're a woman with the attention of the husband, and the husband is not giving that woman that attention at that time because of ministry? Was she wasn't getting enough attention. I don't think she wasn't getting any. She wasn't getting enough attention.
Okay, but she wasn't getting enough attention is not based on that one-time occurrence, right? It's based on series of occurrences.
Just venting. She said it has been happening, not often, but that's not the first time something that will happen.
Right. And so I would say that she and her husband will need to sit down and talk about that, because, like I said, if you want to be able to carry out your assignment properly with a lot of ease and freeness, as a pastor, you also have to consider your wife, because you need to understand that she has needs too, and her needs are valid. So it's about striking the balance. It's about understanding, and as a wife too, you also understand that sometimes you make compromises. So it's not like you are making unnecessary or unrealistic demands. No, your demands are valid and they are within the limits which you can accommodate and he can accommodate. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. For example, if you know that your husband prays between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. and then you now say it's that time, gone, that you must do something in the other room. No, that do you understand what I'm trying to say? If you now insist on that and say it can only be at that time, then that's being unrealistic. But if you have you understand, okay, this guy does this at this time, and both of you say, okay, Oga, before you enter into your prayer mood that be by 1 a.m. or after you have come out at 3 a.m., attend to my needs. But there's a conversation, there's an agreement, and we are both working, you know, in sync, in being able to agree in marriage, especially in ministry, not just even in ministry, in life generally. You both make compromises. You both make compromises, and that's how it will work. You both have to make compromises. So for them, I would say they need to sit and have that conversation. That, see, let's find out what worked for us. But if you are consistently putting others above me and now bringing it under the cloak of is my assignment, is my job, and you are neglecting your wife, then there's a problem. You should not neglect your wife, because you need your home happy, you need your wife happy to be able to carry out what you need to carry out there. Because whether you like it or not, she serves as a covering over you as well. It's not only you that is a covering over her.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. See, you mentioned something about finding a balance, and I think that's the last thing we'll talk about because our time is almost up. So now, you know, some people are always in endless fasting as a pastor. Fasting of sexual, we know it's happening. These things are happening. They would rather stay in church.
You're seizing again. You're seizing again. Odu, you're seizing again. I'm hearing and I'm not hearing fully.
In church, and maybe come home, spend 30 minutes, and then go to bed. So
it's like there's a delay. There's a delay. Yeah. Network behavior.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
This one.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Let me see. We might switch device. Most likely. It keeps losing the connection, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you clear.
Okay.
So what was the question again?
Well, I was asking about finding the balance. How do you find the balance of fasting, prayer, being in ministry? How do you balance it out? How do you balance everything that there's no part of it that is missing something?
The truth is, I won't lie to you, most times it won't balance. That's the truth, Odu. And that's the truth with every other thing in life, not just ministry. If you are juggling a lot, sometimes you will have to sacrifice one for one. Sometimes you would have to, you know, compromise something for something, you know, because you can't divide yourself. And that's why I talk about support and help. You know, I know a lot of people, they say stuff like, you know, stay at home mom, they are the clinical, making it look like career moms. and they don't know what they are doing. No, they both have their role. If you are a stay-at-home mom at this season, celebrate that season, make the best of it. And if you're a career woman, don't talk down on the stay-at-home mom, and the stay-at-home mom, don't talk down on the career woman, because you both have your assignments. So I won't tell you that there's a balance, as it were. But one thing I want to say, that I think if anybody has not heard it, if you've not heard anything I've said today, please hear this. In marriage, you are working in partnership. It's not a Lord and master thing. It's partnership. That's why the Bible says that, and God made Eve. God said, let me create, a partner, someone who is comparable to him. So that comparable means that someone who can stand side by side with you, not in status only, but in terms of substance, what you carry, what she carries. God looked at Adam's assignment and felt, okay, I need someone that can measure up, someone that can fit in and provide the necessary support so that they can work hand in hand. I think if people understand this, especially the men, that marriage is partnership, it's not Lord and master. Even though in partnership, God will still provide, that level of organization in terms of there's the head, then you submit to the head, but it still does not remove the partnership bit of it. And when you understand that partnership part, it makes it easy to juggle the roles and the assignment. Can you still hear me, Odum?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's just that it became so faint.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hold on. I think I need to get out of the other device. Hold on. Can you increase the volume a bit? Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you before. It's just that it just went down.
Okay, so is it back up now, or it's still down?
Oh, okay. All right, go on. I can hear you.
Okay, so that's I would say, having that understanding that marriage is partnership is very key. That will help you juggle things. For example, a lot of young couples have relocated to UK, Canada, and America in the last 1-2 years, and you find out that men are having to now do some house chores, support with the children. You can't say, I'm the head, I never used to do this in Nigeria, I can't do it here. No. The situation has changed. There's no house girl, there's no auntie living with you, there's no cousin living with you. It's just you and your wife and your children who are under 5. So you have to provide that support. You have to find a balance whereby you are both managing it. Wife has to go to work, husband has to go to work, somebody has to prepare the children. But the thing here is, if we are working in partnership and we understand that I bring my strength to cover your weakness, you bring your strength to cover my weakness, then we can find some sort of balance, or some sort of something looking a bit balanced in life. Having that understanding is very crucial. And also understanding that life is in phases. When your children are much younger, there's a lot of demand on both parents, not just the mother, on both parents. As they grow older, you know that the demand, they're a bit independent, so you can now focus on some things. So sometimes somebody will have to sacrifice something for something. Do you understand? But everything is about communication and understanding that we are partners. I'm not trying to outshine you. You're not trying to outshine me. I'm not trying to impose myself on you. You're not trying to impose yourself on me. We are working together in partnership to achieve the same goal. I think when we do that, it makes it easy for us. We're able to, work out a balance and, manage ourselves well, and all of that. For example, I have a couple friend. The wife is the one who works in a corporate environment. The husband runs his own business. And he had worked in a bank before, but then he said, no, let me focus on business so that I can cover with the children when you have to be at work. That's partnership.
So
Yes.
he's not saying, no, I am the man of this house. You cannot go to that work. You cannot do that work. No. And this person I'm talking is also a pastor. So do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Yes,
about
I do.
understanding and communicating and agreeing and understanding that you're working in partnership. We're not trying to outdo each other here.
Okay. I'm sure you just saw this comment that came in. The person, she said marriage in the UK, US, Canada is partnership, while in Africa, it is Lord
It's
and
Lord and
Master
Master.
in most cases.
I don't blame that person, honestly,
Yes,
because
of course.
it's
I
really
understand
jungle
what
out
she's
there.
saying.
Yeah, it
All
is.
right,
You
so
hear some
people, one last
stories
time, I'm going to
and
go
you're
out and
wondering.
come in because, like I said, your voice is very thin. I can hear you, but it just became very thin. I don't know why.
Okay,
But then, you know, like I told you, I need us to address this domestic violence thing
no
because
problem.
it is happening. So I'm going to try and go out. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on today, but the devil is a liar. We are going to get to the end of this. All right. So I'll be
No
back.
problem.
One network here show us Pepe today. We shall finish this. We'll finish it today.
No problem. Well done.
The network is a fact. Anyway, we are done. We are almost done. But like I said, I needed us to talk about the domestic. I don't know if you know this person. I don't know. Do you know her?
The Bimbo girl.
Can you hear me?
I never met her, but she was a member of BR Lekki, as I heard.
I knew her then. Yeah.
Yeah, but I probably met her. Maybe she came for one of our events then, but I honestly can't place the face, and I didn't know her one-on-one.
Okay. All right. So I need, because the narrative that was, at least I've said before, is that the church was enabling this, that they tell them not to leave, they tell them to keep praying. But then now, I personally know that is not true. I know that is not the story now, because even the church is not telling you as a woman to leave and go pray afar. Pray from wherever you are. Once God is involved. So now, what would you say? Because when I read about our passing this morning, I was just thinking, and I told myself, it's another kind of selfishness. Why do I call it selfishness? You're sticking in that marriage. You have children that you are bringing up in a toxic environment. They are seeing it. They will grow up and think it is normal. This is the way it should be. That's one. Two, we are staying there and not thinking about how it will affect those children, affect your immediate family. But just because you want to satisfy something that I call a selfish need, because that's all I can think that will make you stay and then keep going back, even after you were put in a coma when pregnant. You left and then you went for what? So to me, I was thinking about it this morning and I was telling myself that is another kind of selfishness, because you were just thinking about yourself. That's why you're still staying. So I ask, what are your own thoughts about? And we know this is prevalent. There was a few months ago, I brought Mama Adetutu Shafogora and one other lawyer lady, Dorcas, and she was saying that this is common now. It's something they're fighting every day. It's happening every day. So from a Christian perspective, in as much as we hate divorce, we don't want to do it. We don't want to go through it. But should you stay in an abusive relationship?
Absolutely no. Absolutely no. And abuse, I'm sure you know this already, Odun, isn't just about physical abuse. There's so many other forms of abuse. There's emotional abuse, you know, there's sexual abuse, there's financial abuse. And honestly, I think the major issue here, and not to overflog the matter, you've said it, is a lot of mindset issue. When you don't have the right mindset and the right value system, you will be subjected to things that are inhumane. You'll be subjected to things that are degrading, and you wouldn't even realize that that is the situation you found yourself in. It's obvious from the stories I've gathered here and there that she was a bit mentally unstable, you know, maybe as a result of these things that have happened consistently, you know, over time. For me, it's a no-no, and you've said it. Even in the church, we now say that you cannot, for no reason at all, stay in an abusive relationship. People have even fought against that quote that we say during church wedding, and they say, for better, for worse, till death do us part. And people have said that part should be edited, in the sense that, see, life isn't about carrying that title, Mrs. And you know, you made a very important point. The children, most times that is the excuse, of which I think that children excuse is even hiding under another major excuse, which is the excuse of what will people say, the excuse of where do I start from, the excuse of what am I going to amount to. Yeah, so we use that children to just hide under that, you get, because the truth is you are actually not creating a safe environment for those children to be raised. Those children, you are saying that you are staying because of them. They are growing up, like you rightly said, Odun, to think this is what marriage is. And this is not what marriage is. It shouldn't be. And unknown to you, you're depriving them of love. You're depriving them of self-esteem. You're depriving them of self-awareness. You're depriving them of truly coming to that place of understanding what marriage truly should be. You're raising them in a toxic environment where there's so much bitterness, there's so much anger, there's so much vile, there's so much hurtfulness. And these things, even as small as a 3-year-old, they can perceive these things. They can see these things. They can begin to imitate these things. And we don't even realize that we're damaging those children even the more. And so for me, and you know, people were saying things like, oh, why didn't her family force her out? Why didn't her this? And I say, when you are an adult,
nobody can force her out.
You can't. You can't. When you are an adult, when you are 18 and above, you are responsible for your actions, your inactions, your decisions, for everything that you do. You're responsible for it. And that's why marriage is for adults. If you decided to join yourself with someone, then be ready to face the consequences. But at the same time also, when you find yourself in that kind of situation, you actually have every reason to leave. But one thing, Odun, that you know is that maybe the statistics is changing now, but people don't really get that support when they want to leave. That support of, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to stand with you through this. I just know that I'm here for you. We don't really get that. And so a lot of people would rather say, let me stay, you know, and let me endure this. It can't be so bad. He will change. And then we begin to tell ourselves lies. So it's a very painful situation, you know, and the fact that it even ended in death, it's very painful, very heartbreaking, but it could have been prevented. And it could have been prevented. It's almost suicide. You could almost say it was suicide, because here you were, you led yourself into your death. There were occasions for you to, you were not locked into the house. You were not jazzed into the house. They didn't tie your hand or tie your leg. But you know, the thing here is the mindset, is the mental state. So a lot of women need to really deliver themselves from that.
Or something, I don't know. I don't want to repeat something, stories that are not verifiable. But now they are saying something about you being diabolical, that the husband was telling her to carry sacrifices or something. I don't know. I don't want to repeat something, like I said, that I can't verify. But what I can verify, what I know for sure, is that she's died. She's dead, or she died, or how do I want to phrase it? And it blows my mind. Honestly, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
But then, Pimo, let me put you in a spot a bit, because there was a time I brought a divorced. She used to be a pastor while she was married, but after a divorce, it was a big issue with the church, and it was a lot of she had to leave the church actually. Now, is this a way for us to sensitize the church, because we can start from the church, against this stigma, against the stigmatization of divorced women or divorced men, because it goes both where we can start talking to the church, to not see them as a pariah, to not see them as a failure. You know? Because I think if we start small from there, maybe, just maybe, I don't know, I'm not saying it will change some things, but I think it might change some things.
Well, you've said it. It's about orientation. And we are dealing with a monster that has trended for years. So I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. I'm not going to tell you that, you know, if we talk about it long enough in the churches, it will. Some people are die-hard believers that if you divorce, you're a sinner and you're going to hell, and there's really nothing much you can do. They might not outwardly tell you not to, but their body language, their attitude will tell you that they're not in support of that decision that you've made. But the truth is, orientation, especially from the pulpit. So when the pastor of the assembly takes it upon himself to talk about these things, to address these issues, to let the members know where we stand as a church or as, you know, a ministry in this regard, and let them know that we will never, for any reason, you know, ostracize a divorcee. And it's so sad because it's often the woman that is being pressured. Hardly will you hear anyone pressure a divorced man. In fact, if a divorced man decides to marry next year, they could talk, but the talk cannot be as much as a divorced woman marrying next year, a year after. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's about reorientation. We need to keep saying it from the pulpit to let people understand, and then create. Another thing I've observed is that there aren't so much avenues and platforms within churches for this set of people to express themselves. So you have the single and married fellowship, you have this, but do we really have for the separated, the divorced? Yes, yes. Do we have that for the single mother, you know, or the single father? Do we have that kind of forum? When we begin to have this kind of forum, then anyone who comes to your church will know that, oh, okay, this church, they accept us. But when you don't, and it was a conversation I was having recently, when you are calling for singles, you have your meeting, I'm married, where do they fall into? Do they go into the singles fellowship? Do you understand? You know, I'm talking of divorcees that are maybe 40 and above, and singles, I'm talking of singles of 25. What do they want to talk? A 40-year-old divorcee? What does the person want to say with a 25-year-old never married single person? Nothing. They don't have anything in common, as it were. So I think those are the two things. If the orientation starts from the pulpit, and also if we create this deliberately within the system, especially if you have a large ministry, begin to create this so that you cater for them. That their divorce does not mean that they are totally out of line with God. It doesn't mean God has cast, you know, God, they are cast away. It doesn't mean that they cannot make heaven. It doesn't mean they cannot live life again, you know. So I think that is the way from answering your question with respect to church. That is the way I feel the orientation can happen. If it comes from the pulpit, gradually the church members will begin to embrace it, and the church members will begin to deal with it. And I think killing, and another thing also is, let me quickly say this, is killing the spirit of gossiping, which starts with leadership. So someone has been divorced, address it, especially maybe if the person is a worker, and let them know that, yes, the pastorate knows about this and we're in full support. So you quickly nip in the bud any form of gossip, because now the pastor knows about it. You really don't need to go about gossiping and doing hush, 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 tone on around church. So those are the things that at leadership level you need to deal with, and quickly just cut it off. Okay, this lady got pregnant out of wedlock. Stop hushing it. Deal with it. Put it out and deal with it, and let them know that she's accepted. Let them know that she's loved, regardless of what has happened to her. You know, but it's a whole lot, you know, that has to go on from leadership. And I pray the Lord will help us, honestly.
Thank you so much, Pimo. Tawa Kalitu, I'm sorry you had to go through that. She said, instead, they mock me of being a single mother. They always think I am the one that is faulty. I stopped going to church and at home. At times, I talk to myself. I am sorry. I understand what she's saying. But personally, I'm a very strong person. Mentally, like, I really don't care. You want to gossip, knock yourself out. You want to talk about me, have a field day. I don't care. But a lot of people are not like me. And gossip things affect them, and they would rather just stay put. In fact, to a state that they want the church to know they are being abused. And stay, just keep it's sad. And like you said, God will help us in Jesus' name. In short,
Yeah,
for this
amen.
is a good way to start. Changing the orientation of the church will go a long way. Yeah, hopefully that's why I do this. Like I said, we cannot change things, but we can only just do our own bit. In fact, we can. We don't know where this video will get to. And like I usually tell people, share it. If we can get to the leaders of the church, maybe, just maybe, they might just decide to take one of these advices that people put out there and just say, okay, next week in church, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to, you know, let's start bringing it to the forefront, especially. It's not something we need to shy from, because that's what the from is going to act as if it's not happening when it is happening. And whether we like it or for someone to look to the church for some answers, that's just the way some of us are wired. Just keep pretending these things are not happening. It is happening, and it's for, like when I saw that news this morning, I was somehow down. I was just like, for what? I kept raving to my sister because she too was talking about it because she knows that too. And I kept raving and I said, for what? Why? As in, what is the point of it? What? Why? Anyway,
it was such a needless death. It was such a needless death. It wasn't needful at all. It could have been averted. It could have been prevented, you know. And I'm really hoping that, like you rightly said, anyone in that kind of situation should please, you know, reach out, call out. I also know that sometimes someone said it in that comment that I would rather keep my marital issues away from pastors. I know there's also be that mistake, or how do I describe it, that some pastors do, whereby someone comes to tell you about their personal issues and then they begin to hear it on the pulpit as examples. Yes. So, you know, those kind of things also pastors really have to, because that will make that person say, I'm never going to come and talk to you about it again. Even though you didn't mention my name, but I know that it was me that you were talking about. I came to share with you something personal about my life. So I think church should be church. And I really pray the Lord will help us, that we create that environment where people can come in and feel safe. I know it's a long way, but we will get there, especially with the African church. And I pray the Lord will help us, because people need to feel safe. People need, like you said, church should be the place where you can run to and say, help me, I am going through this in my home, I'm going through this in my marriage. We don't even want to talk about pastors' wives who are going through domestic violence. You don't even want to go into that category of people.
For another day. It's like,
honestly,
there is someone I know. Let's not go there.
At all. So you understand how that informs the kind of advice and counsel that is coming out from the church. Because unfortunately, imagine that you go to meet a pastor's wife for counsel who is also being battered, who is also being emotionally abused. What counsel, what advice do you think that person would tell her that, well, pray on me, just be praying, God will help us? Because that's what she's come to know and to do. You know, so it's very dicey. It's a whole lot. But regardless, please, if anyone is out there, seek help. It might not be, it might not be your pastor's wife. It might not be your pastor. But please seek help. There's no rule. There's no rule. There is no rule in the book that says you should die in an abusive marriage. There's none at all. There's no reward for it. You're not going to go to heaven and God is going to shake your hand and say, well done. No, because you have a life to live and a responsibility to live that life well. Yes.
Actually, in an abusive marriage and you're killed or you died in there, she said you might most likely go to hellfire because that's suicide.
It's suicide. It's suicide. You took your own life.
Your life supersedes any other covenant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway.
And the covenant of marriage is here on earth. That's what Jesus said. There are no marriages in heaven. There are no marriages in heaven. Oh, wow.
So,
amen. Amen.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your word of knowledge. We appreciate your realness.
Thank you.
Most of the keep it real. You keep it real with us. And I really, really, really appreciate that. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. And well done.
In Jesus' name. Thank you so much.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Well done, Odun. God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. For everybody that joined, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate each and every one of you. I don't take this for granted. Okay? My pastor gave me some Bible verses then that he can't separate. He only joined people together, that he cannot separate people. Well, I want to hope and pray that you already left. Okay? Because if the man is ready to go get help, ready to go get mental help, psychological help, then yes, you can go back, you can fix it. But if that man is not ready to go through that, there was a story I even read. I saw that the man said he can't even apologize. That what is he apologizing for? So that's to tell you that that man is mentally disturbed. How can you beat your wife, and you're saying, why do you need to apologize? So I'm sorry you had to go through that. I just want to believe and pray that you've left that toxic marriage, because there's nothing to hold on to, except that man is ready to go through some kind of treatment, some kind of therapy, to change, to reorientate his mindset. Then yes, you can maybe try that. But if that is not happening, please, live to live. We cannot shout this enough. And let me say this before I go. Himo has gone. Let me say this. If you are still a woman and you are going through this, you are still being abused, you are still being battered, not just woman, man, because there are men that are being abused as well, and you are being abused, and you're still staying, let me tell you this, you're a selfish person. You're a very, very selfish person. It has nothing to do with your children. Stop putting that pressure on your children. Stop putting that load, that extra load on them. It has nothing to do with them. It's your decision. It's your choice to stay. The fact that you're actually keeping your children in that kind of an environment, in that kind of a vicinity, for them to grow up and think it's normal, for them to grow up and think that is the way it should be, it tells me you're a selfish person. You're a very selfish person. There's no reason for you thinking about your children, then you will leave. So stop saying you're staying there for your children, because you're not. You're staying there for yourself. Yes. Exactly. How do you die for those you're supposed to live for? How do you die for the guests? You're staying there for them, and then you're no more. You're a selfish person. You're staying there for yourself, not for the children. Stop saying it's for the children. For you to stay there. The one that even beats my mind is those people that can actually leave. You don't have any reason. You have the financial support. You have for what? For what? Yes, we pray God gives you the courage to go to make the right decision. But please, stop being selfish. Stop being selfish. It's selfishness. Even in sickness, we want to live for our kids. Why do you want to die for them? It's selfishness. Nothing but selfishness. Selfishness. Anyway, I need to go. That's a bit of a rant from me. But no problem. Thank you. And some of them have a sick mind, mentally battered. I'm telling you, their psyche has been battered. That was what I was telling someone this morning. Was it my sister? I don't even know. I was telling the person that, oh, okay, I think I posted it on someone's page. And I'm like, why is it's a battered self-esteem. A lot of women's self-esteem has been battered. Because, anyway, let me just go. Thank you all. Thank you so much. God bless you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Amazing Glory, thank you for joining. Debbie, thank you. John Jolate, Tawakali to Vera for Gold, Ame, Esther Queen, Omar, all of you. I might not mention your name. Bouncy B, I see you. Thank you. Moji Off, thank you. Kende, thank you. Aiji Shola, thank you all so much. Adiola Adejoro, thank you so much for joining. But we finished the show. We are done for the show. So thank you so much. Abby, I've decided, I've kept quiet. I've calmed it down, because if we think about it, it's very annoying. It's it's frustrating for me that someone will be going through that and we still decide to stay. I don't know. But like they say, at times they will come and say, you're not in my shoes, you're not wearing my shoes. But at the same fish. Bye, I'll see you guys next week. I need to be out of here. Thank you all so much. Bye. Catch you next week. My name is still Odun Akerele. For those that are just joining us for the first time, you can follow us on our Instagram page. Real Talk with Odun is a show. We talk about issues that affect us as women. We deal with women, basically. All right. So you can follow us, Real Talk with Odun, so you get to join us on our next episode. Thank you. God bless you so much. I'll see you again next week, Saturday. Bye.